For comparison now, let's see what it would take to recover 100 horsepower seconds of energy from any one of these storage beds, for whatever reason. If we had to recover that 100 horsepower seconds of energy, all from our RPM, we would have to allow that RPM to go from 104% all the way down to 75% in order to recover that 100 horsepower seconds of energy. On the other hand, we can recover that same amount of energy by merely allowing our airspeed to bleed from 90 knots down to 84 knots. A reduction of only 6 knots will give us that same amount of energy. Even down at 60 knots, if we allow the airspeed to go from 60 knots down to 50 knots, we will recover 100 horsepower seconds of energy. And that, by the way, is the reason why we strongly recommend that you use as a minimum airspeed for everything except takeoff and landing. Use 60 knots as your minimum airspeed. It's slightly above your speed for best rate of climb, but you don't sacrifice very much in the way of climb. And by using 60 knots as a minimum airspeed, you will have an additional 100 horsepower seconds of energy that you can recover anytime you need it without really going on the backside of the power curve. In other words, using 60 knots instead of 50 knots during a climb out or other critical flight conditions is just like having a rotor with twice as much inertia, because you'll have that energy that you can recover anytime you need it. On the other hand, once you have allowed that airspeed to go down to 32 knots, you would have to be able to flare it all the way to zero, which you cannot do in order to recover that same 100 horsepower seconds of energy. That's why it's so important to maintain your airspeed and store that airspeed energy so you'll have it available in the event that you need it. For comparison, you will recover from your altitude energy 100 horsepower seconds of energy for each 46 feet that you descend.